with the TRK 502X, Benelli is creating a full-fledged adventure bike for A2 driving license holders for less than €7,000. Surely something can't be right. Yes, it's true. And the machine is also really good, as Marcus and Dietmar were able to find out during an extensive test drive. To clarify, this is not about the Italian bestseller Benelli TRK 502, but about the sister model with the Edition X. The bike without the X was actually the best-selling machine in Italy last year, ahead of the BMW GS. Okay, Benelli is also an Italian brand, but that alone can't be the reason. Either the TRK is particularly good or particularly cheap, or even both. The differences between the Benelli TRK 502X tested here are the standard TRK 502, wire wheels versus cast rims, 19-inch front wheel versus 17 front wheel, side-mounted exhaust instead of underfloor exhaust, seat height stately 895mm versus 840mm, center stand included as standard, not available on the TRK 502. Axially attached floating calipers on the X at the front instead of radially screwed fixed calipers, off-road tires instead of road tires. So you can clearly see, the Benelli TRK 502X is the travel steamer that does not shy away from gravel and company. The comparison to BMW is obvious. The GS corresponds to the TRK 502, the GS Adventure corresponds to the TRK 502X. 3 colors are available: blue, gray, and white. Even visually, the TRK 502X with its beak is somewhat reminiscent of the BMW GSA. The jagged front builds up in front of you like a mountain, we like that quite a bit. The seat rehearsal is also a tough one. The seat height of just under 90 centimeters is of course not for little people, but it doesn't really feel that high, and both Marcus and Dietmar had no problems with stability. The seat is really great, it is extremely comfortably upholstered and you spontaneously feel comfortable on this bike. Even the pillion passenger can't complain, there is plenty of space and grab handles. However, the seats are not heatable, but don't forget, we're talking about a motorcycle under €7,000. We will probably have to note this more often in this test. The cockpit spontaneously reminds us of Suzuki's old GSX displays. There is a white background, analog tachometer plus LC display with gear indicator and onboard computer. Everything is easy to read and the operation is completely free of irritation. Of course, this is also due to the fact that there is hardly anything to use.
Drei, zwei, eins, ab geht der Fuchs. Okay. 3, 2, 1, ab geht der Fuchs. Und 100. Ja.
Apart from the 2-channel ABS from Bosch, the TRK 502X has no technical extras on board, which makes the machine wonderfully manageable. Traction control has also been dispensed with, which is forgivable with 48 horsepower. Low beam and high beam still have halo technology, turn signals and tail light come with LEDs. The machine has a USB port and hazard warning lights. In addition, we find 2 switches that are used in series, which are presumably intended for auxiliary headlights and daytime running lights. By the way, all switches are backlit in blue. All in all, a very simple equipment with the essentials, which is certainly due to the price, but somehow also makes the machine likable. That's how it drives. The sound of the Benelli TRK 502X is a big surprise. You could almost think you're standing next to a boxer. The crank pin offset sends its regards. The Benelli sounds really pithy, and that doesn't sound like 500 cubic centimeters at all, more like 1,000. The windshield of the machine is okay, but unfortunately the windshield cannot be adjusted in height. In our case, there were also minor turbulences on the helmet from about 110 km/h, but basically the wind and weather protection is appropriate. There are side flaps and, of course, the massive fairing also provides weather protection. That feels very good. It feels at least as good in the saddle of the Benelli. The seat is very comfortably upholstered and the high seating position results in a sublime driving experience. This impression is underlined once again by the chassis. It's comfortable here and even potholes can't harm the load. As always, the following applies: length runs and weight springs. The machine weighs 235 kilograms ready to drive and is therefore not so quickly disturbed. If you think that would make the machine sluggish, please keep the weight specifications of other adventure bikes in mind. 235 kilograms can be described as light. The 50 millimeters. While the USD fork is not adjustable, it does a good job. The monoshock absorber at the rear is adjustable and rebound, and in the spring base, the suspension travel is 140 millimeters. That's not much, but it still feels okay. By the way, the Benelli TRK 502X has protruding engine guards as standard. This is certainly a pretty good idea, because two novice drivers are likely to put this machine on its side, e.g. when maneuvering. Thanks to the engine guard, it doesn't matter, but you should perhaps have practiced setting up the machine before heading to the Alps. Driving the TRK 502X turns out to be unspectacular. Of course, the 48 horsepower inline twin doesn't exactly have an easy time with the beefy machine, but it still moves forward sensibly, at least on its own. It could be a bit more difficult in pairs and with luggage, but what the heck, nobody wants to break lap records with an A2 bike anyway. In any case, the bike rides very harmoniously and feels great. You quickly get used to a casual, or let's say better, relaxed driving style and enjoy the ride to the fullest. The first-class choice of tires is also astonishing in this price range. The Metzeler Tourants are excellent tires and fit wonderfully with the Benelli. The marketing slogan, whether on sand, gravel or asphalt, this travel enduro is your perfect travel companion, is actually true. Not quite as great as the topic of braking. Unfortunately, the front brake requires more manual power than many competitors. In any case, we wonder why Benelli uses radially bolted 4-piston fixed calipers on the standard TRK 502, without X, and axially bolted floating calipers on the X. Well, of course, it's not that the TRK 502X wouldn't brake, but you have to press hard for a strong braking effect. By the way, the brake and clutch levers are both adjustable in range. Overall, the machine makes a good impression on us. Apparently, Benelli wrote the following in the specifications during development: build a GS adventure with 48 horsepower for less than 7,000 euros. Of course, this comparison is limping in many respects, e.g. technology and performance, but at least in terms of driving experience, the TRKX already has a lot to offer. And it is certainly no coincidence that the Benelli borrows a lot from the BMW GS, e.g. the splash guard at the rear. However, we still have one big point of criticism: that My Benelli app, which we would have liked to have tried, only speaks Italian. Fortunately, the author of these lines is proficient in this language, but it is a bit shameful that Benelli does not even offer English as an option. Unfortunately, we were not able to test the function of the app because there were problems entering the vehicle number. But since you can't do much with the app anyway, this whole topic is secondary from our point of view. The best thing to do is to simply forget that the machine can be paired with the smartphone and enjoy the otherwise impeccable operation. It's amazing what Benelli can do for this price. If you think that this bike can only be junk at this price, we have to prove you wrong. The TRK 502X is a good motorcycle, albeit with manageable power and simple equipment. It drives great, is easy to operate and looks great.